Welcome, everyone, to the Gridiron Review Podcast. I'm Zach, that's Jack, and we are back for episode 11 of our Offseason in Review series. We're continuing through the AFC East with the New England Patriots, a team that were once again back in the playoffs after 1 year off, with this time rookie Mac Jones at the helm. While they did get massacred by the Bills in what was absolutely a revenge game, it was still somewhat of a surprise, at least to us, to see them in the playoffs, as people thought they were in for a rebuild couple of years, even with Mac Jones doing better than most rookies do. Despite being a playoff team last year, there's still a really good chance, and in our opinion, a high probability that they do hit the wall and go through the inevitable rebuild that they've been pushing off. And in general, though, their offseason, how does it grade for us? Jack can start us off.
Offensively, they lost running backs Brandon Bolden and Divine Ozigbo and Jacob Johnson, the fullback, Gunnar Ochevsky at receiver, Troy Fumagalli at tight end, Ted Karras at center. Players retained James White, Jacoby Myers, Trent Brown, and their key free agent pickups, Ty Montgomery, the hybrid running back receiver, Matt Sokol, tight end, and James Ferenc, center. They also acquired Devontae Parker from the Dolphins and a fifth-round pick in exchange for a third-round pick next year. And they traded offensive guard Shaq Mason for a fifth-round pick from Tampa. In the draft, they added Cole Strange in the first, Tyquan Thornton in the second, Pierre Strong in the fourth, Bailey Zappi in the fourth, Kevin Harris in the sixth, and two backup linemen in the sixth and seventh. There's a lot wrong with this offense, and it starts with the fact that they have no offensive coordinator. Reports have it that Joe Judge is currently coaching the quarterbacks, and Matt Patricia is the leading candidate to take over play calling. I don't know what the plan is here. First off, I get Hoyer's aging, but he's not a bad backup considering this is his fifth stint with this team, so he probably knows the playbook without looking at it. And, just taking Zappi didn't make sense. Taking two more running backs after, Stevenson and Harris carried the backfield last year, getting James White back to take two running backs makes no sense. Devontae Parker, will he stay healthy? Who knows? Will Jacoby Myers take a step up? Who knows? We talked about Cedric Wilson in yesterday's episode for the Dolphins. And I think Kendrick Bourne is another one of those guys that isn't talked about in the way that he should be. Their bench, N'Keal Harry needs to switch to tight end, which he can't even do on this team because they're too deep. Thornton is built literally like a stick. Will he stay healthy? Aguilar, will his drops come back? I'm not going to go through every single one of these guys, but what is the plan at the skill positions? Because you needed a clear-cut one, and although Parker has flashed the ability to do that, he certainly doesn't have the body to take the hits of one. The tight end room, you threw a lot of money at that last year, so you better hope these guys start producing at a super high level. And the offensive line, thank God Wynn came back to camp, because otherwise you pretty much would have been screwed. David Andrews is still there, Onwenu is still there, Trent Brown is still there. But the minute you start looking at these backups, it is a much bigger issue than I think people realize. And the one pick that I want to touch on is Cole Strange. And we've kind of gone through this through TikTok and our different draft series on there. I personally like the Cole Strange pick. He was one of the later linemen I looked at in our scouting. I put a late first grade on him. So the fact that the Patriots were able to trade back and take him at the back end of the first, I think it was a really good pick for a small school guard who isn't really built like a guard. He plays like a top-notch guard. And, if there's one thing that the New England Patriots do right, it is draft linemen and develop linemen. So if Strange is the guy they took, I have faith that he is going to work out, both from my scouting and just, what the Patriots have been able to do with their linemen in the past. But overall, what is the plan here? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's definitely questionable. When I looked at Thornton, I was a little surprised I thought how good he looked, considering initially you didn't hear his name talked about as even a day two candidate, and he is built like a stick. He's wicked fast, though, as everyone knows, and I think he's got decent hands. I thought he was going to be a sleeper in this draft. I thought late third or early fourth could have him as a pretty good steal. The second round where they took him is not a steal at that point, and they took him over some pretty big people. I mean, Sky Moore was still there. He could have added some juice to your team, and I'm
Pickens
forgetting.
and Pierce too.
Yeah, Pickens and Pierce, although I wasn't the biggest Pierce fan. It's just, this was Cole Strange, again, Jack liked the pick. Thornton, I don't hate the pick for the matchup. I think they needed some speed and needed some size, and they got both of that in Thornton, but the second round is a very big risk to put on him. And to your point, they put a lot of money into the tight end room on top of drafting 2 tight ends the year before they did that, Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene. While I think Hunter Henry had an okay year, I think he almost had double-digit touchdowns. The problem with putting all this money into it and, going and trading a third for Devontae Parker and drafting Tyquan Thornton the second is the Bill Belichick offense that was run last year just doesn't throw enough for all these guys to be worth it. All the money you threw at Kendrick Bourne. I think I would be shocked if he makes the team, to be honest. I think he'll get cut. And I think N'Keal Harry's probably a trade candidate for like a 6th round pick. I mean, there's plenty of teams out there that I would kick the tires on him for a 6th. I mean, when you trade Shaq Mason for a 5th, that was shocking. That was a horrible trade in my eyes. I think you could have gotten much more for him. But I think Mac Jones can handle a heavier workload than they gave him. But, you do all this to invest into the offensive weapons, assuming you're going to throw more. But then you go sign Ty Montgomery, which what for? And then you do go and draft Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong. Pierre Strong has a lot of speed. Maybe that's the element you're missing in the running back room. You can't fault it, although the 4th round was too high for me. But Kevin Harris, why do it again? Take a receiver. Anything else. I mean, okay, you don't want to pay Damian Harris after his contract's up. Ramondre Stevenson's still there. James White, you re-signed. I mean, I know White has got a different role, and I don't think any of them can catch passes the way he does. But why? What are they doing? It's a lot of question marks. Like I said, I don't hate the moves, I guess, on the offensive side, except for the offensive line trading away Shaq Mason. I don't understand that one. The Devontae Parker trade, I think it was a little heavy, but it was a 2023 third, so whatever. I mean, at least they don't have to play him, and he shreds him every time. So maybe that was the thought pattern. And I think Mac Jones, I don't think he takes a step forward statistically. I think he's going to have another decent season with better weapons, but none of the weapons, like, as you've covered, Thornton looks like he could go down at any moment, any shot to the leg. And I know that's everyone, but it's extremely true with Thornton. And Devontae Parker has been hurt. I don't think he's ever played a full season. I think I saw one time, or maybe it was his rookie year or second year. It's been a while. So you're going and getting all these weapons, and you spend all this money on Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. So now are you running 12 personnel more? But at the same time, you have Kendrick Bourne, Thornton, Parker, Jacoby Myers. So what is, I don't understand. Like, it's very, very highly questionable. Again, like we noted with the Jets, it's flexibility in a good way, but at the same time, what's with the running backs? Why do you have a 10 running back room or whatever they're at right now? Because they still have J.J. Taylor, I believe, as well.
Yes, they do.
And I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's very weird. Why did you sign Ty Montgomery? That was another questionable one. Like, is he the backup to James White? Should James White get hurt again? I don't know.
Well, ESPN has Ty Montgomery listed as a receiver here. So I don't know how that helps even the receiver room, but when you look at the Parker trade, you gave up a 3rd next year, and I get that it's next year, but Amari Cooper went for a 5th rounder. You're telling me New England couldn't have jumped on that? Seriously.
Yeah, when you look at, like, I understand they didn't want to give up a haul for Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, even if I don't know that they even would have. Like, I don't know if the other players would have agreed to that. But, yeah, the Amari Cooper trade, why? I guess that's just the question. I mean, look at the Eagles. The Eagles have proven that they can't draft receivers. Devontae Smith, the jury's still out. I liked Smith a lot, but Rager, Arcega, Whiteside. So what do? They go trade for A.J. Brown. It's an iffy trade in our eyes because of how much you paid him, but at least they recognize that there's a good chance they whiff on if they were to go back again. And I think New England has made a massive mistake by not going and getting a bigger name than Parker. And I like Devontae Parker. I think it's a pretty good fit with New England, but he's not a player that's been like a model of consistency health-wise. And if you want Mac Jones to take the next step in growth, you've got to have players he can depend on. And right now, I don't know that there's many in that room. I still, like you said, Parker flashes the ability to be an alpha number one, but will he stay healthy enough for that to matter? I don't think Thornton is an alpha number one at all. And we could talk a lot about the offense. Again, I think Mac Jones is going to be fine. I don't think statistically he takes a step forward, but I think on the field, like, you'll see more maturity. You'll see more deep passing with Parker, with Thornton. It's just, I guess they're still going to be trying to run the ball a lot. I guess. I don't know. On the defensive side, I think is where they take a much bigger hit. They lost Kyle Van Noy, Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, Terez Hall, the big one, J.C. Jackson, and Brandon King, a depth safety. Kyle Van Noy, Dante Hightower have been, Van Noy off and on, but mainstays in the defense, and Jamie Collins for that matter, for a long time. And at the moment, I think Hightower and Collins are still free agents. Van Noy is with the Chargers, and they could bring him back, but I don't think it's happening at this point. There are certain positions like wide receivers, corners, where you always need more of them. Linebackers, it seems like they're pretty set. They did re-sign Carl Davis and Juwan Bentley. I didn't like the Juwan Bentley re-signing. That's besides the point. They picked up Terrence Mitchell. They brought back Malcolm Butler, who was on the street, thrown out of the Cardinals, I think. And then they did pick up Jabril Peppers, which I liked, except for the fact that they've got like 5 strong safeties in, and all 5 play like linebacker hybrid roles with Duggar, with Adrian Phillips. And I know there's another one that I am currently forgetting, but it's just the losing of JC Jackson is going to be huge. And I know there's like this stigma that they can just replace him with the next guy up, but I don't see it. Like, Malcolm Butler's 32 at this point.
I think so, yeah.
Terrence Mitchell's like 35, I think. I don't know if that's the same guy I'm thinking of, but their corner room now is those two, Jonathan Jones, Jojuan Williams is still there. Like, this is a bad corner room. It just is. And in the draft, they added Marcus Jones, Jack Jones. Marcus Jones is a player Jack said screamed Logan Ryan, and makes sense, multiple shoulder surgeries. Seems like he could have been higher if he hadn't had it. Why not New England throw? He'll probably be irrelevant for 2 years and then just come up in his third year and become the number one corner on New England. Kind of how it rolls. Maybe Jojuan Williams, after 4 seasons and being a former second-round pick, takes a step forward. It's hard to tell. But in general, I think this defense is not going to be good. They did make the trade for Mac Wilson in exchange for Chase Winovich. I think this is a pretty even trade. I really thought Winovich took a step back, but I also think they didn't use him as much and they couldn't find a solid role for him to play, like a consistent one. And I also like Mac Wilson, but why re-sign Juwan Bentley then? I don't know. I assume they're going to get very creative with all the different strong safeties because Pepper should be playing, Duggar should be playing, Phillips should be playing. So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to work it out, but I assume they'll all see the field. My problem for this team is, are they going to be able to cover, and are they able to rush the passer? Because I think neither is true. I just don't see, the corners matching up well against the AFC, let alone their own division. And as far as rushing the passer goes, I think this is just, it's never been a good pass. It hasn't been a good pass rushing team in a long time. They haven't had, since Chandler Jones left that I can think of, a pass rusher that was dominant. And I guess Trey Flowers, but I don't think he ever got double-digit sacks. They did round out their draft with Sam Roberts in the 6th, and I do think their defensive tackle room is going to be good. I think they'll be good against the run with Devon Godshaw, Christian Barmore, and there is others that I'm forgetting. But I think, Jack can discuss this. I think that their pass rush is going to be a problem. They just don't, to my knowledge, they don't have anyone that's a threat, And just the one thing I want to add in, the one before Jack just covers the defense better than I can. They have like 5 kickers on their roster. They brought back Nick Folk. They picked up Tristan Viciano, but I think they also have a few others. I think that there's a few more in the
Well,
room.
they just cut Quinn Nordin, but they have two
Yeah.
punters too, Jake Bailey and Jake Julian.
And Jake Bailey is one of the better punters in football, to my knowledge. So I don't know. It's the weird stuff. It's so strange. But Jack can talk about the defense, so take it away.
They also have two long snappers, if it makes you feel any better. um, I'm gonna read down ESPN's depth chart for this team, or the starters: Dietrich Wise, Christian Barmore, Devin Godshaw, Lawrence Guy, Matt Judon, Juwan Bentley, Josh Uche, Malcolm Butler, Kyle Duggar, Devin McCourty, and Jalen Mills.
Mills
What
is
the
the one I
AFC?
forgot about. Yeah,
Who?
Mills. That's the
Oh.
one. He's like a corner safety. Yeah, again, no set position.
Just look at what the AFC did this offseason. Who are these dudes gonna cover? I don't understand what the plan was. I mean, there's not even depth. Well, the linebacker room's not awfully bad depth wise.
Oh, I did forget about Judon. That's the one. He's a good pass rusher, but yeah, keep going. Sorry.
But to Zach's point, Judon should not be playing backer. He should be, on the line as a rusher. And I guess with the Patriots hybrid front, that he does play that. But I mean, this team is minimal on depth. Again, except for the linebacker room and the 3 or 4 strong safeties that they have. But McCourty's like 35 years old. Mills has not proven much. Malcolm Butler is known for one play. Jonathan Jones is a decent slot. To Zach's point, I did like Marcus Jones a little bit. He's coming off double shoulder surgery. He's primarily known for his return ability. So this kind of sounds like the Cyrus Jones pick from a few years back. But, Jones, I thought, had corner safety flexibility, and, maybe he does step into something one of these days. But Jalen Mills, Malcolm Butler, Terrence Mitchell, maybe a couple years back, this would have been an okay group. But these dudes are like 30 now. I mean, your only hope is, like Zach said, maybe Joan Williams or Sean Wade finally put it together. But like a guy like Nakobe Dean, a guy like Channing Tindall, both fall to the 3rd round, and you didn't go after either of them. And I get that Hightower and Collins and Van Noy are not all pro names that are thrown out there consistently with top linebackers, but these guys were staples of this defense, like Zach said, for years. I mean, in and out. Van Noy went to Miami, and Collins
So
followed
did
Patricia to
Collins.
Detroit. But I mean, right now, this defense is relying heavily on a lot of unproven 2nd and 3rd year guys. Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche, Mac Wilson, Juwan Williams, Sean Wade. I'm sure one of these guys will find their way in this Patriot system, but like, just looking at this, who are they going to stop other than a high school football team? They cannot stop Buffalo right now. They cannot stop the Chargers. They cannot. These powerhouses are going to run them over like a train.
I mean, even in their own division, how are they going to match up against Miami? I know Belichick is a defensive whiz, even though I think he's losing it a little bit. I think I don't know if the league is adapting and he's not, and I know they had a good defense last year, but how are they going to stop Hill and Waddle? Like, old corners can't keep up with those guys. And I mean, the Jets, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, again, how do you plan? Are you going to run a zone heavy scheme? But that's where these guys feast, like finding the soft spots in the zone. And then if they get open space, you're going to have a hard time getting them.
Yeah. I mean, Bentley, like you mentioned, it was not a great re-sign. I mean, that is like an old school type linebacker, and in an evolving game where you need speed. I mean, just look at their whole room of linebackers: Judon, Jennings, Bentley, Uche, Wilson, Raekwon McMillan. None of these guys fit the typical mold of a linebacker in today's game. None of them are Fred Warner. None of them are even Bobby Wagner for that matter. These guys just, I mean, most of their linebackers are edge rushers or guys that rush the passer for their college team. So I don't understand what you're doing.
But even with that, they have a weak pass rush.
Yeah, I was gonna say even with these guys, you have a weak pass rush. So I mean, your rush isn't getting there. Your corners are gonna have to hold up, and they are not. There are teams that can, and this is not one of them.
Right. We have them going 4-13, and cue the shocked expressions. But I think it's easy to say, and I don't know that many can argue that of all the teams in their division, all three of them, I mean, Bills were obviously the alphas of the division now, but the Jets and the Dolphins got better than the Patriots. Their additions were huge. The Jets invested heavy in the draft, and the Dolphins went and got Tyreek Hill, a new head coach. And I think both of those teams got better by a lot, and the Patriots just got better marginally. And we know this is going to be some controversy, and we know that people might not agree, but we just think they're the worst team in the division right now. And this could be all nonsense, and Belichick could push out like the craziest defense we've seen because Belichick. But as it stands right now, we don't see how they match up on offense or defense against the Jets and the Dolphins, let alone the Bills. I mean, they had that one weird win against Buffalo last year in that snowy, windy game, and that's the only reason they beat them. Buffalo came back and whooped them in the playoffs, and if you think that that was a one-time thing, they're not going to let up. If there was any team that Buffalo goes to play this season, besides maybe the Chiefs, that they're going to want to beat them bad, it's the Patriots. And it's the same for the Dolphins and the Jets. They ran this division for almost 20 years. And now it's, they just, I don't know, they didn't make the moves that the others did. And Jack can have some closing lines real quick, but just in my opinion, as crazy as it sounds, I think that the Dolphins and the Jets are a better team right now. And maybe Belichick proves that he's the savvy, one of the best coaches ever, and pulls out another, playoff appearance, but we just don't see it. I don't see how they beat a lot of these loaded AFC teams.
Kind of building off what Zach said is like my final remarks here is that where teams like the Chargers and the Jets and the Dolphins, if you want to look in their own division, are making moves to improve and fight their fight in this bloodbath that's the AFC. The Patriots are playing replacement game. Like Cole Strange is a replacement for Shaq Mason. The Zappy pick makes no sense. The running back picks make no sense. But like Mac Wilson, that trade is to replace somebody. This isn't like if they went out and drafted Nakobe Dean, that's an upgrade on Juwan Bentley. Mac Wilson is not an upgrade on anybody in that room. He's probably at the same level. So, Belichick, Zach said it. He could come out here like we have it, winning 4 games and, flashing something because he's Belichick. But this team is playing the replacement game right now, and you're never going to, in the NFC, maybe you compete, but in the AFC, you need to start making moves to compete and not just replace guys that you're getting rid of for no reason.
Well said. That concludes our New England Patriots episode. We will be closing out the AFC East with Super Bowl favorite Buffalo Bills. Stay tuned and see you then.